What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you 5 animated text effects that you can do in After Effects for lower thirds and title sequences, and they're really easy. So let's get to it. If you're looking for tools, tips, and tricks that can help make you a better YouTuber, you've come to the right place. So you're going to want to subscribe to the channel and click that bell so you know when we have new content that comes out. When I do tutorials like this, I'm always concerned that I'm just walking people through the motions so they can recreate what I did. There are a couple of really important techniques that I show you in this video. My hope is that I can teach this well enough for you to grasp those techniques and you'll be able to create some absolutely amazing text animations all on your own. This first one I'm going to show you is a very simple way to do text reveals for your lower thirds. And the technique I use to reveal this text is something you're going to use over and over again for text animations. So you're going to want to pay attention. The first thing I'm going to do is go into Character, select the font I want, then I'm going to type out what I want to be revealed here. And we're just going to type split. I want to center my anchor point. This is really important for aligning my text, but also determining exactly how I'm going to animate it. So I select this pan behind tool, I hold down the control key, and then I just double click the pan behind tool. And you can see that my anchor point goes right to the center of those words. Now I'm going to type out text and put it below. Next I'm going to make sure both my text layers are not selected. I'm going to go up and click my shape tool. I want to turn stroke off and make sure the fill is on. It doesn't matter what color fill you use. Now I'm going to draw a shape layer box over the word split, and I'm going to reorder my layers here so split is the next one down. Then I'm going to go into the alpha here and select alpha matte, and you can see that split stays there. Now I'm going to create another shape layer. We're going to place this over the text. Now I'm going to reorder the layers. I'm going to move shape layer down so it's below split and above text, and then I'm going to select alpha once again. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our playhead is at the beginning of our sequence. And then I'm going to go into Transform for Split. And I'm going to click the little stopwatch button. So that adds a keyframe at the beginning of our sequence. So this is actually where I want my text to end. So once I click the stopwatch, I'm going to take that keyframe and I'm going to drag it out to about 1 second. Now, with the playhead still at the beginning, I'm going to adjust the location of that text downwards. And what this is going to do is it's going to take it outside of the shape layer. Now, setting it to alpha means that the text will only display when it's inside that shape layer. So when we move it down, our text disappears. Next, I'm going to open up the transform for my text. I'm going to click the stopwatch next to position. I'm going to drag that keyframe out to that 1 second mark again. And now, making sure that the playhead is at the very beginning of my composition, I'm going to create another keyframe. This time, I'm going to adjust the layer of this text up. Once again, when this moves outside of that shape layer, because it's set to alpha, it's going to disappear. Now when I click the preview, you're going to see the text is revealed right from the center line. What that means is the texts individually are moving into the shape layer that's set as an alpha, so it means they're going to be displayed. Now I'm going to adjust these keyframes. I'm going to turn on the keyframe assistant and go to Easy Ease. And I'm going to Easy Ease both of the end keyframes for this animation. What that means is the text will move fast at the beginning and it will slow down once it gets to the end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that first keyframe. I just select it so it's blue, and then I'm going to copy it by clicking Control-C. Then I'm going to move my playhead to where I want to copy it to. I'm going to press Control-V, and it's going to paste that keyframe in there. I'm going to do the exact same thing on both of these texts. Then I'm going to Easy Ease those keyframes. Now I'm going to go into the graph editor and I'm going to adjust the speed of these keyframes. I use this little slider and I slide it all the way to the left. So both keyframes have this nice little bump at the very beginning and then they slope towards the end. Where you see those bumps really high, that means the text is going to move really fast. And when you see it really low, that's where the text is going to move slower. So you can see I had this text rushing in and then staying and then moving, starting to move slowly out and then getting faster as it gets closer and closer to the edge of the screen. And I'm going to do this on both split and text. Once I'm finished, I turn off the graph editor. Now when I select preview, you can see that my text is rushing in at first and slows down at the end. And then when it's exiting, it's slow and then speeds up all the way to the end. Now I want a little more of a pause in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this center keyframe by pressing Control C. Then I'm going to move my playhead out a little bit and select Control V to paste it. And you can see when I do this to both split and text, it gives me just a little bit of a pause. I'm going to expand this out a little bit, move these keyframes out, and give it just a little bit more of a pause. Now I move my playhead and I go down and I move the other text as well. I just do this so that I make sure they're in the exact same location. Now if I click Preview, you can see we have a nice pause while the text is there, and then it speeds out. And it's really that simple. The main thing you want to take away from this particular text reveal is how to use shape layers for alpha. The other thing that you should definitely learn is how to easy ease your keyframes. It just gives it a much more professional look when you don't have one static speed. This has the text coming in really fast at the beginning and then moving really slow when it exits and speeding up. And I just think that makes it look so much more professional. With the next one, we're going to step it up a notch. I'm going to show you how to do text reveals using text Animate, and I'm also going to show you how to use a null object to move these text elements around. First thing I'm going to do is select my font and type Animate in here. Next, I'm going to center my anchor point by clicking the pan over tool and then holding Control and double clicking the pan under tool. This is going to move my anchor point right to the center. Now I'm going to use the align tool. This is a really cool one. It's going to help to make sure that your stuff is completely centered. I click the second one to the left, which is going to center my text on the screen. And then the second last one from the right is going to center it top to bottom. Now my text is completely centered based on that anchor point. Next, I'll show you how to animate this text. So click that drop down and click the little Animate button. And then I'm going to select Position. And under Position, I'm going to move this text down to the lower part of the screen. And now you see the range selector. And what this allows you to do is animate that text based on the position that you just set. So when I select Start and I move this to 100%, it animates each individual letter up to the position it originally started in. That's pretty awesome. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mask. For this, you want to make sure that you have the current layer selected. We aren't actually going to create a separate shape layer. We're going to create a mask that's going to move with our text in this particular case. The beautiful thing about this mask is that it doesn't move. So when I set up the mask, when I take this start back to 0%, you can see our text disappears. And that's exactly the effect we're looking for. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set Start to 0 and click the little stopwatch, making sure my playhead is at the very beginning of my timeline. Now I want to move my playhead out to where I want the animation to complete. We're going to start with 1 second. And then I'm going to go ahead and move Start all the way to 100%. Then I'm going to right click on the second keyframe and I'm going to go to Keyframe Assistant and Easy Ease. Then I'm going to go into the graph editor and I'm going to pull this all the way over to the left so it animates quickly coming in and slows down a little bit at the later half. Now when I click Preview, you can see how that animation looks. Next, I want to copy this second keyframe, so I'm going to highlight it, press Control C, then I'm going to move the playhead out where I want my motion to start again. I'm going to click Control V to paste that keyframe. Then I'm going to move my playhead all the way out to where I want the text to completely disappear. And then I'll just move Start all the way to 0. Now I want to go ahead and I want to adjust this graph editor so it's speedy at the beginning and slower at the end. As you can see, this last keyframe isn't all the way on 0. That's why we're getting that weird remnant. I'm going to go in and fix that. Now when I click Preview, you can see it appears one letter at a time and disappears one letter at a time in a nice, cool, smooth thing. So what if we wanted to animate this so it would move at the same time as it's coming in? That's what we're going to do next. So I set my playhead to where the animation is fully on screen. Now I'm going to create a null object so we can animate this a little bit more. I right click in this empty space and I go to New. I select Null Object. You can see that puts my null object right in the center of the screen. I'm going to center the anchor point on the null object by using the pan under tool and holding Control and double clicking the pan under tool. This puts my anchor point right to the center of my null object. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair my text to the null object. So I take this little peg whip here and I just drag it to the null object. Now it's paired. What that means is wherever I move that null object to, my text is going to move the same way. Now with my playhead set at where I want the animation to end, I'm going to click the little stopwatch next to position, and this will create my ending keyframe. Now I'm going to move the playhead all the way, almost all the way to the beginning. I just want to be able to see where that A is located. Now I'm going to move the position of my null object so that the A in Animate is right in the center of the screen. Once I have this positioned exactly where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and easy ease those keyframes, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push it so it's all the way to the left, so it's speedy at the beginning and slower at the end. Then I'm going to take that keyframe and move it all the way to the very beginning of our timeline. Because we want this animation to start at the beginning, but I wanted to be able to move our animation so that I could see it. So now that it's moved to the beginning of our timeline, let's click preview and see what happens. The first letter appears at the center of the screen and it animates into the left. Pretty freaking cool effect here. Now I'm just going to adjust the animations a little bit so that I like how they come in and the timing that they leave. And wow, you can see how easy it is to animate this. So with this text animation, you should have learned a little bit about how the text animator works, but also how to move your text around the screen using a null object. With this next one, I'm going to show you another cool way to animate your text by turning it into a shape layer and using the Trim Paths tool. Once again, I'm going to select my font, type out my text, and move my anchor point to the center using the Pan Under tool, and then align it so it's in the very center of the screen. Once I do this, I'm going to right-click on Outline. Then I'm going to go to Create and create shapes from text. And this creates another layer. Now I'm going to select that layer and click the Add button and go to Trim Paths. Now it's created a separate trim path for each individual letter. I don't want the shapes in this layer to have any fill, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off fill, and I'm going to just add some stroke here by turning stroke on. And I'm going to make those little lines on the outside a little fatter. We're going to go with 5 point. Then I'm going to change Trim Multiple Shapes from simultaneously to individually. Now I'm going to move my playhead all the way out to where I want my animation to end. I'm going to click End to add a keyframe there at 100%. Then I'm going to move my playhead all the way to the beginning of my composition, and I'm going to adjust End to 0. Now when I click Preview, you can see this draws in the outline of each individual letter one at a time. That's really cool and so easy. Now let's change individual to simultaneously, and we're going to click Preview and see what that does. And you can see now it's drawing each letter at the same time. But the starting point of each letter is different. So we can go down here and adjust this offset so that each letter will start in a way that we want it to start. And you can create all kinds of different patterns with this. I'm just going to keep the preview running, and I'm going to try to find an offset that I really like. Now that's about as simple as it gets to create a cool outline text for your lower thirds. I love this next one because it's so simple, but it's a way to make text write in as if you were writing it right on the page. So I'm going to select my font and do all the usual centering the text and all that fun stuff. And this one combines a couple of techniques that we've already learned. Mainly, we're going to be using an alpha shape layer to reveal our text. But in this case, we're going to use the pen tool to create our shape layer. So you start where you want your text to start drawing in. And I highly recommend when you click this first, when you drag it a little bit, so it gives you these little adjustment pieces. Then you select where your second point is going to be, and you use these bars so that it covers up your current text. Now you just move along your script and adjust the stroke size so that you have all of your text covered with your line. Now you want to make sure that you do this in a pattern that is exactly the same as how you would write it, all the while covering up all of the script as best you possibly can. You can see when I get to the R, we have a little bit of a problem here because the script doesn't connect. Just make sure that none of the points are selected in the first piece and then start a new line. And this will just add another piece to the same shape layer. And I go through and I create the script for the second piece all the way through. Then I'm going to make sure that I don't have any pieces selected, and I'm going to do the dot for the I and the cross for the T. Now I'm going to go in there and try to do some fine adjustment to make sure that all of my text is covered up. Sometimes this is easy, sometimes it's difficult. It depends on what style of text you select, but just adjust the thickness of your stroke until you get all of your text covered. Next, we're going to go to script and we're going to change this to the alpha of shape layer 1. And you can see that now our outline has totally disappeared from the top and we just see the script. Now we want to open up our shape layer and then open up contents, and we're going to go to the very first shape that we created. We're going to select that, and then we're going to go to add and then trim paths, and we're going to go to end. We're going to make this 0. Now I want to click the stopwatch to add a keyframe here. Then I'm going to move my playhead out to where I want my P to be finished drawing in. Then I'm going to create another keyframe by moving end to 100%. Now I'm going to advance the playhead just a couple of frames. And I'm going to select shape 2. And I'm going to click the add button, and we're going to add trim paths again. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to end and turn it to 0, and then click the stopwatch. Then I'm going to move the playhead forward to where I want the rest of this script to be drawn in, and I'm going to go to 100% in end to add that keyframe. Now if I click preview, you can see everything is drawing in except for the dot on the I and the T, which we're going to fix now. So I put my playhead at the end of shape layer 2 once again. Then I select shape 3, and I'm going to go ahead and do trim pass once again. And then I'm going to set it to 0, click the stopwatch next to end, move my playhead out a few frames. This is a very small one, it's just the dot on the I. And I'm going to move end to 100%. And now our I's dotted. We're going to do the same thing with trim pass. With the playhead set to where the I's finish drawing in, I'm going to set end to 0. Then I'm going to move the playhead out a few frames for the crossing of the T, and I'm going to move end to 100%. Now when I click preview, you're going to see our script draws in. And it's really that simple to create a drawn in technique. For this last one, I'm going to show you how to create this glitched text. It's pretty cool. First, I'm going to select my fonts, type my text in, move my anchor to the center point, and move the text to where I want it to be. In this case, I'm going to use 2 different types of text. But it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever style glitch text you want. The process is going to be exactly the same for adding your text. The first thing we're going to do is create a displacement map. To do this, I'm just going to select the shape tool, and I'm going to draw a shape across the top here. And I'm going to move forward 3 frames. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to split the layer, and I'm going to delete the remainder of the layer. Now I'm going to draw a few more shapes in here. I'm going to edit up this shape line. Then I'm going to move ahead 3 frames. I'm going to split the layer again, and I'm going to delete the new one again. Then I'm going to draw some more lines. I'm just going to keep doing this process of drawing one in, moving 3 frames forward, splitting the layer and deleting it, and then drawing some new ones in. Once I have 5 or 6 of these drawn in, I'm just going to minimize them. Then I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to duplicate them. And to duplicate them, I can just click Control D. Now I'm going to grab all of the highlighted duplications, and I'm going to drag them up to the top and then move them out so they're at the end. And I'm going to duplicate them again. And I'm going to do this all the way through my timeline. Then I want to select all the shape layers that I just created, and I want to right click on them and select Pre-Compose. And I'm going to make sure that Move All Attributes into the new composition is checked. I'm going to call this Map and click OK. Then I'm going to right click on this empty space here. I'm going to click New and add an adjustment layer. Then on adjustment layer, I want to right click, go to Effects, Distort, and then select Displacement Map. Now in Displacement Map, I want to drop this down and select Map. And then I'm going to adjust this max horizontal distance to around 20, 21. And I'm going to select the vertical displacement as well into that 19, 20 area. And you can already see it's displacing a little bit. If I click play, you can see how this is glitching already. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're going to add a few accentuations to this layer. And we're going to do this the exact same way we created our displacement map. I'm going to draw some lines, split the layers, remove them, and draw some new ones. But none of these are going to be across any of the text. These are going to be to just add little edges, little details. I'm going to create 5 or 6 of these, duplicate them, and run them all the way through the end of my composition. Once I have all these layers created, I'm going to right-click, go to Pre-Compose once again, and I'm going to call this one Accent, and click OK. Now I'm going to move this below our adjustment layer, and when I click play, you can see what sort of effect this gives it. Now I'm going to select everything that we've created so far, right-click on it, and Pre-Compose. This one I'm going to call All Glitch. Make sure you have Move All Attributes selected and click OK. Now I'm going to duplicate All Glitch 3 more times. Then I'm going to rename the top 3 All Glitch R, All Glitch G, and All Glitch B. Next, I'm going to go into Effects, select Channel, and then Shift Channels on this top one here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off the green and the blue completely. You can see this turns our title red. Next, we're going to go into the All Glitch G. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn off the red and we're going to turn off the blue. And we want to do the same thing on All Glitch B. Right click, go to Effects, go to Channel, and then Shift Channels. And we want to turn off the red and the green so it's only showing blue. Now on the All Glitch R and the All Glitch G, what we want to do is go into Mode and change this to Screen. Now our title is back to white. So the next thing we're going to do is create that interesting little glitch effect that phases the color in. In order to do that, I'm going to select All Glitch R and I'm going to click P. This brings up the position. Now I hold down the Alt key and I click on the stopwatch. This is going to give us the ability to add in an expression. We want to type in wiggle, and in this wiggle parentheses, we're going to put 2, 10. What this expression says is that we want to wiggle the position of this layer. The 2 is the frequency with which we want it to wiggle, and the 10 is the distance we want it to wiggle. Now we're going to go in and we're going to do the same thing with All Glitch G. We select All Glitch G, we click P, it brings up position. Now we Alt-click the stopwatch so that we can type in our expression, and you can just copy and paste in the expression if you like. And you only need to do this on the R and the G. Once this is finished, I can click the preview button and you can see that it adds this really cool little RGB effect right around the edge of our glitch text. Now I select the RGB layers and I go to Pre-Compose. I'm going to change the name to RGB, make sure I'm moving all the attributes, and click OK. Now what you can do is you can add keyframing to the RGB layer if you like, so that you can add more or less glitching at different points throughout your timeline. You can do this by opening the RGB layer and clicking the stopwatch next to opacity, moving your playhead throughout the timeline, and changing the level of opacity. The next thing I want to do is add a little more randomness to the letters. So I'm going to double click on All Glitch, and this is going to bring up that composition that we already set up. I'm going to go into one of my texts and I'm going to select Animate, and then I'm going to select Opacity. I'm going to go into the animator and select the range selector. I'm going to set my playhead to the very beginning. I'm going to click the little stopwatch next to start and set it to 0. Then I'm going to move my playhead out just a little bit and I'm going to change start to 100%. And you can see this draws in each individual letter. But I want to do a little bit more here. I want this to look random and kind of glitchy in itself. So I want to go to Advanced and I want to randomize the order. So click Randomize Order On. Then I'm going to set Smoothness to 0. Now you can see it totally randomizes how the letters draw in. We're going to take this a step further. We're going to Alt-click on End. Then we're going to type our wiggle expression in here again. And this time we're going to go 2, 40. And when we preview this, now you can see that occasionally a letter will just kind of disappear and come back in. It really adds that extra cool element. Now I'm just going to go through the same process with my other piece of text. And when I play these, you can see this is pretty cool. This is definitely random glitchy type text. And that's really all there is to it. It's that simple. Now, I have a bonus for you here because you might want to actually know how you can export these so that you can add them to the lower thirds or use them as titles. I'm going to show you how to export these as an alpha so that you'll be able to lay them on top of any video you choose. So make sure that you have the composition selected that you want to export. Go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. In the render queue, you want to click Lossless. Then where it says Channels RGB, you want to select RGB plus alpha and click OK. Then in the right, you want to go to where it says Output to, and you want to click on that and select the name that you want where it says Save As, and then go to the location where you want to save your movie and then click Save. Once you do this, you just go to the right and click Render, and this will render out the text animation you just created. What this enables you to do is add it over top of any video that you want to use it in. If this is a title sequence that's just going to take up the entire screen, it's not necessary to actually do that. You can just export it like you normally would. But if you want to export it as an alpha, that is the process that you have to use. If you're interested in learning how to create cool trick shots in After Effects, check this video out right here. And if you like tools, tips, and tricks like this one that can help make you a better YouTuber, subscribe to the channel. My name is Micah Fire Jr. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.